Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in Sacramento, Capitol Bureau. We are joined by Brian Jones. He is a member of the California State Assembly and had some real successes last year.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, sometimes I'll buy a product and I'll see a Made in America badge, and I kind of like that. Hard not to, I'm American. But I understand it actually had been very difficult to get that Made in America designation.
You know, it's unbelievable. You know, California is continually ranked at the bottom of business friendly in national rankings. This is one of the things that added to it. When I ran for office in 2010, one of my campaign promises was to, people always ask me, what do you want to do when you get to Sacramento? I said, I'm going to go undo some stuff.
I'm
going to go undo some bad laws. So this was one of the bad laws that we found, that California had the most restrictive requirements on labeling something made in America. The Federal Trade Commission and 49 other states all agreed on one standard.
And
California had to have a completely separate standard, saying that 100% of the product had to be manufactured in America to be labeled Made in America, where the rest of the country allows, you know, some foreign
think about this. I can't even imagine almost anything being 100%. At some point in the food chain, there's got to be some foreign
So
product.
the perfect example of this was mag lights, the big heavy-duty aluminum flash. That entire thing is made in Ontario, California, except for two parts: the light bulb and the O-ring that seals it, which the light bulbs are not even allowed to be manufactured in America
because of
the elements that they use in that thing. So the problem with the law was it allowed trial attorneys, consumer attorneys, to sue the manufacturers for damages well beyond the price of the product that they were selling.
Class actions, etc.
Class actions, millions of dollars of lawsuits.
Who's harmed?
Nobody.
Yeah, I mean, that's another conversation. But be that as
so that's why we reformed the law and we got that passed.
Essentially, what does the new law provide?
The new law in California says that 90% of the product has to be made in America to carry that Made in America label.
Couldn't one argue that still seems a bit onerous, or is that what the other 49 states have?
No, it's still a bit onerous.
Is it? Is it more than the others?
It's what we could do in California, and it was moving the ball. It wasn't everything that I wanted, but look, I'm in the minority party, and I came to the table with an idea, and the majority party trimmed down my idea a little bit. But the bottom line at the end of the day is, I was still able to make the atmosphere in California better for California businesses.
But kudos to you, and I guess the majority party, in that you work together.
Well, I had to work together because it actually was carried, the bill, after them killing it twice with my name on it. I worked with a Democratic senator, put his name on it. He was able to get it to
Were you a co-author at least?
I was absolutely. I was a co-author.
That's good. It all works out.
So I had to over-cooperate with the other side.
It's all good. I admit I'm a kid of the 70s and 80s, and I loved me my skate parks. I would go skateboarding in them, and I wasn't that good, but I still loved it. And I understand that there was a need to reform a piece of legislation dealing with skate parks to allow the more expansive use of them.
That's correct.
Tell us about another bill that was passed and signed.
Another law that I had to undo.
That
hadn't been talked about since the 60s was indemnity for counties and cities when the county or city builds a skate park. The crazy law indemnifies them against damages for lawsuits for injury only for skateboards.
What about kids with the bikes that are going?
Bikes, scooters, wheelchairs.
Oh, that's interesting.
They all like to use these skate parks as well.
The new hoverboards that we see?
Yeah, exactly. So we had a situation in my district where the county sheriff department is out at a skate park telling kids on bikes and scooters, no, you can't be in the skate park. And they're like, what do you mean we can't be in the skate? So we had to change the law so that counties can now be indemnified against damages.
How did that go? Was it hard to get that through?
Actually, that one sailed through.
That was a good one.
Yeah, once we brought that through. And actually, in the skate park in my district, in 2 weeks, there's going to be a competition for the what they call motocross wheelchairs. And they're going to be
tell me more.
Well, there'll be a bunch of guys on wheelchairs competing in the skate park and having an exhibition on the tricks that they can do, and they've got some pretty amazing talent.
It's very cool
in these wheelchairs.
I want to talk, especially given that you represent significant portions of San Diego County. I want to talk about the Coastal Commission.
All right.
The Coastal Commission, for better or for worse, is quite powerful. And for many decades, they have worked to protect our coasts. Some, though, believe that their reach is overextended. And as we speak today, there's a controversy swirling around the Coastal Commission and its executive director, a bit tangential to our conversation
Absolutely,
today.
Yeah.
But it's in the news. Coastal Commission's in the news. Talk to us about what you are looking to do vis-a-vis the Coastal Commission.
You bet. So I think the first thing we need to do is we need to divide the question in that there's the Coastal Act,
right,
and then there's the Coastal Commission, which currently the Coastal Commission is charged with administering the Coastal Act. So the Coastal Act is the law that the Coastal Commission applies to any kind of development on the coast. Well, as you just stated, they're trying to have mission creep. They're trying to move their jurisdiction up waterways that are miles and miles away from the coast. The Coastal Act never intended to impact. So we've got a situation, just about every county, coastal county. There's 13 coastal counties. Well, Marin County wants to manage their coast in one way. LA County wants to manage their coast in maybe another way, or maybe the same way. Orange County wants to do something maybe different, maybe the same. San Diego, we've got coastal areas that we've protected and coastal areas that are already developed that want to be redeveloped. So for example, we've got a Navy pier in San Diego that was built in the 40s. It's a concrete bunker. It's an ugly 4-story building that sits right on the bay. Well, San Diego wants to redevelop this into a beautiful hotel and park. Coastal Commission says no, you can't develop it. And they had their reasons, regardless of the reasons. So my bill is, okay, one of the tenets of America is self-determination. That's why we have 50 states and one United States. Well, I think the same thing should apply to the counties. Counties should have self-determination. So my bill is going to allow a county to appeal to the courts to get the county out of the Coastal Commission and establish their own county Coastal Commission to comply with the Coastal Act as they see fit.
That's interesting. So the Coastal Act still applies.
The Coastal Act
so
absolutely still applies.
You're not changing standards,
no,
but you're giving authority to apply those standards to a different entity.
To local control.
That's interesting.
So San Diego can manage its coast according to the Coastal Act the way it wants to. Marin County can...
So talk me through it. I mean, if the Coastal Act is not being implicated or changed in any way...
Part of the argument today is that some of these decisions the Coastal Commission today are making goes beyond the intentions of the Coastal Act.
But you know what else I hear, sir, is that they just take too darn long.
And they take too, and that's a major complaint, is they take too long. Now, people are saying, well, there's no precedent for this. Well, absolutely there's a precedent for this.
Tell me.
Monterey County, or the city, which I'm not sure, is already exempted from the Coastal Act. Because they had that by an act of law 25 years ago.
Interesting.
And there's other parcels of land up and down the coast that by act of legislation, throughout some kind of influence, historical, have been exempted from the Coastal Act.
So arguably, though, if you have one county that goes rogue one way or the other, they still need to comply with the Coastal Act, and so the courts could still be that stopgap.
There's still oversight from the courts regarding it. So let's say they go rogue one way in allowing too much development. Well, then the federal laws will take effect at that point in time.
Or the state laws, for that matter.
Right now, the federal government has ceded control of that zoning.
What do your friends in the Democratic side think of this?
Well, we haven't quite introduced it yet, so we're getting
what's your sense? Because I could fashion an argument where Democrats could
I think
this.
it's a win-win, because you've got Democrats in Monterey County, in Marin County, and the other coastal counties that want.
Because they're not tinkering with the Coastal Act.
They don't think the Coastal Commission goes far enough. So if they want to go farther with the Coastal Act, then the Coastal Commission.
How'd you think of this?
I lose sleep at night thinking of this
I know,
stuff.
it's too much.
That's what I paid for.
Exactly. His name is Brian Jones. He is a member of the California State Assembly, representing significant portions of San Diego County. My name is Brad Pomerance in Sacramento. This is Local Edition.